Hello everyone, and welcome to our continuation of the study of Unit 2. To put it simply, figuring out why stuff costs what stuff costs through supply and demand. So we have one LEQ for this video. How does the elasticity of demand affect the price of a given product? So we know that the law of demand applies, but there is this little caveat called elasticity. So as typical in economics, we have common dictionary words that have a special meaning in economics. So I'll give you the definition, the dictionary definition of elasticity, and the economic definition of elasticity is nowhere near that. So please do not confuse the two. Always in class, we're always talking about the economic meaning of the terms. So the economic meaning of elasticity is a measure of consumers' responsiveness to an increase or decrease in price of a product. Okay? So let me pause here. The law of demand applies here. Price goes up, quantity demanded goes down. Price goes down, quantity demanded goes up. Elasticity measures, okay, yeah, sure, that's true, but by how much? If the price goes up, does the quantity demanded go down a lot, or only a little, or a moderate amount? If the price goes down, does the quantity demanded go up a lot, or does it only go up a little? In other words, elasticity measures by how much. For a very simple definition, elasticity measures by how much does the law of demand apply. Does quantity demand go up or down a lot or a little? So there are two types of elasticity. Elastic demand is a situation in which the rise or fall in a product's price, law of demand, greatly affects the amount of people that are willing to buy. So if the price goes up and the quantity demanded goes down a lot, we call that elastic demand. And a common example I use in class is cereal. If the cost of cereal, let's say your favorite cereal is Cinnamon Toast Crunch. If the cost of Cinnamon Toast Crunch quadruples, it goes from $4 to $16, chances are the quantity demanded is not only going to go down, it's going to go down a lot. Now, the second type of elasticity is inelastic demand. Now, in our discussion about demand so far in this unit, some of you have hinted at inelastic demand, and I'll tell you why here in a moment. So inelastic demand is a situation in which a product's change has little impact on the quantity demanded by consumers. Okay, so if the price goes up, quantity demanded only goes down a little bit. So yeah, again, the law of demand still applies here, folks. It just goes down a little bit. Now, here are the two most common examples of inelastic demand: medicine and gas. Quite a few of you have mentioned gas when we're talking about the law of demand, and I'm always like, that kind of sort of works, but it doesn't truly apply. Now think about this, guys. If the price of gas goes up, do you really think that a large amount of people are going to start walking and riding their bikes to work? Unless you're me, probably not. Now keep in mind, yeah, if gas is $4 a gallon, absolutely people are going to start being more conservative in their driving habits. Again, the law of demand does apply here, but it's not going to have a large impact on quantity demanded. All right, so let's see what this looks like when we graph it. Again, this is a graphing heavy unit. Okay, so here's our good old demand curve. You guys have seen this many times. Let's do some random example for some product, good or service, doesn't matter. Oh, price goes up. Quantity demanded goes down. Yes. We know this very well. Okay, now let's see what elastic demand looks like. So the way you graph differences in elastic or inelastic demand is by adjusting the steepness of the slope of the demand curve. I'm going to say that again. The way you show the difference between elastic and inelastic demand is by adjusting the steepness of the slope of the demand curve. All right. So the demand curve, as you all know, is downward sloping. So what I'm going to do to show elastic demand, all right, elastic, is I'm still going to draw a demand curve, but it's going to have a very flat slope. All right. Something like that, and pretend that's a little bit more angled there. All right, it's going to have a very flat slope. So again, this is still a demand curve. It's still downward sloping. So let's see here. Let's say the price is right here and quantity demanded is right here. Let's say the price goes down, okay? For some reason, price goes down, which never really happens. All right, price goes down. Cool. Now, according to the law of demand, Price goes down, quantity demanded goes up. Absolutely. Okay, price goes down. And yes, it is true. The quantity demanded went up, but look at this, guys. The quantity demanded went up a lot. The price went down a little bit, but the quantity demanded went up about 3 to 4 times as much. So that's elastic demand. There's a large change in quantity demanded, and it's shown by graphing a flat-ish demand curve. Now let's take a look at inelastic. So inelastic demand is shown by graphing a very steep, a very vertical demand curve. So check this out. I'm going to exaggerate this for the sake of effect. Almost straight up and down. So look, that looks ridiculous, but it still is a demand curve. It is still a downward sloping demand curve, and the law of demand still applies. So right now we're graphing the law of demand on things like gas and medicine. I use those 2 examples commonly, but please do not think those are the only 2 examples, all right? So here we go. Here is price, and here is quantity demanded for some product or good or service. Let's say the price goes up. Let's say the price goes up a lot. Price goes up a lot. So the price went up a lot, but you guys can already kind of tell what's going to happen. Even though the price went up a lot, the quantity demanded barely went down. So again, the law of demand still applies here, but the quantity demanded only went down a little bit. So there are our 2 graphing examples of elastic versus inelastic demand. Okay, so just like there are determinants of demand, there are also determinants of elasticity. Again, the root word of determinant is to determine. The determinants of demand determine how much demand is impacted by those different factors like changes in population, changes in income, tastes and preferences, complementary goods, and substitutes. The determinants of elasticity determines the price elasticity for a particular item. And these 3 determinants are the existence of substitutes, the percentage of a person's total budget devoted to the purchase of that good, and the time consumers are given to adjust to a change in price. So here we go. The most common, the one I'm going to use in class the most and one you'll be quizzed on the most common is the existence of substitutes. That is, the more substitutes available for a product, the higher that product's elasticity. Again, think cereal, shoes, things along that line. Soda has a ton of substitutes, whereas insulin, a medicine that diabetics need to stay alive, there are not many substitutes for that. Number 2, the percentage of a person's total budget devoted to the purchase of that good. So we say the demand for salt is inelastic, and here's why. If the price of salt doubles, according to the law of demand, the quantity demand will go down. And yeah, that's true, but guys, think about this. Salt is what, 50 cents? Oh no, it doubled from 50 cents to $1. Oh no, quantity demand is going to go down. No one's going to buy salt anymore. We're all going to change to what? What's a good substitute for salt? I don't know. So because salt represents such a small percentage of a person's total income, we call that inelastic, because even though the price goes up or down, it's such a small amount we just don't care. All right, that's what salt. Compare that to homes. Let's say we take a nice $150,000 home. Now, homes represent a much larger portion of a person's total income. So if the price of homes goes up, yeah, that's going to be a much larger percentage of that person's total income. Whereas, so our demand for homes is very elastic. That is, well, if home A goes up to $175,000, but home B is only $125,000, if they fit our criteria, we're probably going to go with home B. And finally, number 3, the time consumers are given to adjust to a change of price. So let's pretend that the price of electricity goes up tomorrow. Let's say we all get a letter in the mail from Lakeland Electric saying that electricity is going to go from, and I'm totally making this up, I have no idea, from $5 per kilowatt hour to $10 per kilowatt hour. Someone feel free to correct me on that. I have no idea what I'm talking about when it comes to that. If I see that the price is going to go up tomorrow, I don't have much time to change my habits. However, over a longer period of time, over the course of the next month, 2 months, and 3 months, I can begin to change my habits to reduce my need for electricity. So chances are in the 24-hour period, I'm not going to immediately become a monk and stop using electricity. It is going to take time to reduce my electricity consumption. LEQ in review. So our LEQ is, how does the elasticity of demand affect the price of a given product? So elasticity simply measures by how much the law of demand applies. It measures a consumer's responsiveness to a change in price. Does the quantity demanded go up or down a little bit or a lot? So elastic demand is a large response. Okay, price goes down, quantity demanded goes up a lot. All right, and that is shown by a relatively flat slope. Compare that to inelastic demand, whereas a small response to change in quantity demanded. So if the price of insulin goes up, do you really think diabetics are going to quit buying insulin? Probably not, because they need it to live. And that is shown by a relatively steep slope. All right, class, thank you for watching this video. I'll see you later.